Next to the mic. Hi, I'm Naomi Stone. I founded 2 companies, Mugen Kyoku and Enso. Mugen Kyoku is an environmental compliance and sustainability consulting. And the reason why I actually founded the company, I was working for another firm. I was a plucky, young, idealistic environmentalist from the Pacific Northwest. And we were essentially helping a company basically install a new process line. But if, as you may know, in these types of projects, it goes out to public comment. And we received, I don't know, several dozen letters from the community that basically said, we can't breathe, my whole family's sick, please don't put in this line. And I remember thinking, okay, this project's obviously dead. And my manager said to me, he goes through this stack of letters, and one by one, basically just dismisses everyone. Can't prove it, no scientific proof, all emotion, what? And I just sat there slack-jawed. I remember thinking, I'm in the wrong place. And what he told me was, and he said, let me make this very clear, we are environmental consultants, we're not consultants for the environment. And that's when I realized I need to go out and do my own thing. So I started my own company, like I said, about 25 years ago. And from that, realizing kind of in the whole evolution that we actually needed to take it a step further, because who I consult to is mostly manufacturing, industry, municipalities. And when I take on a contract, I tell them, look, I will help you comply with the regulations, but I'm going to do it in a way where we're going to actually reduce your raw material usage. We're going to reduce your emissions. This is not just about skirting the laws. It's about actually making an improvement. And you don't sign on with me unless you're willing to do that. The next step to that, though, was my second company, and that's Enso. Enso is a circular economy platform in which I built an algorithm that matches the waste from one industry with the raw material needs of another. We divert the waste from the landfills, we save natural resources, reduce carbon footprint, water, and energy, but maybe not most importantly, but equally importantly, we show companies that right now that are spending millions of dollars to dispose of their waste, that they can actually turn that cost into a new revenue stream by selling it. And when you create that type of alignment, now all of a sudden you've got buy-in. It's no longer a political issue that gets affected every 4 years, every time you have an administration change. You get people who are willing to do the right thing, and furthermore, they are now open to an eco project where they wouldn't have otherwise been. And once you start breaking down those barriers, that's when real change starts to happen.
Hi, you know me pretty well already. So I will say, I'll tell you a little bit more about the transition into a check writing role in venture. When I was at the venture incubator that I was at, we were, as I mentioned, we were building startups with big companies who wanted to build the company that would otherwise have put them out of business, right? And so it's a very safe startup way to build startups, so still getting a salary, but still acting as a startup founder. And I'm in rooms, there's my rooms surrounded by men, right? Because those places, you take the bro culture of consulting and you mash it against the bro culture of venture and startup, and it's heavy bro culture. And so we're building startups and doing all these things, and there's not enough women in any of these rooms. And we're hiring in the teams for the startups that we're building, and we're not getting enough women applying for these roles, CEO, CTO, the team, the engineering team. And I keep wondering why the women are not applying, because there are women in the world who could be on these startup teams. And in parallel, I'm spending my evenings going to like meetups and things that are in the startup ecosystem around LA. And I'm meeting a lot of female startup founders. And I'm asking them, like, look, I build startups for a living. Why don't you apply to the roles over here? Because we're funded, right? I have capital over here as well. And over again, they were like, no, I don't really want to. I want to build my company, and I don't really want to do that. I want to do this over here. And they're struggling for funding, right? To your point, they're trying to raise capital, and but they're doing it because it's theirs. And so I was like, okay. So I start doing a lot of advising with these female founders outside of my day job. So I'm advising, I'm doing all kinds of other support because I know how to build businesses. I've done a lot of it. I can look at financials. I can help them with business plans. So my day job is building startups with a lot of men, and then my extracurricular time is building startups with a lot of women. I did this for like 3 years. And then I had this morning, I woke up in this weird wake-up call where I was like, oh my goodness, this is not going to work because the system that these women are up against is my day job, right? The men are surrounded by ecosystem. The men are surrounded by resources. It's literally what I'm doing all day. And I'm spending my extracurricular time helping the women find resources, find ecosystem, find money. And like this doesn't, like it's like cognitive dissonance that I couldn't handle anymore. And so I left my partner job at the consulting firm, and I completely shifted all of my energy. I said, I think I'm gonna have to launch a fund. I feel like I have to like shift how I do it and start to put ecosystem around these women. And that's what I did, because I couldn't go to work anymore and be part of the problem when I could otherwise take all that energy and actually start to be the solution over here. And so prioritizing getting capital, systemically moving capital to female-founded teams and bringing ecosystem to female-founded teams is now what I've been doing for the last 7 years.
Good morning. Yate binne shieshist atso. She Floraina 3 hak hatali khulye dinna nikenne adoption. My name is Floraina 3 hak, and I don't like traditional labels or to be conditioned into a label. And a lot of people call me a lot of things. So I'm going to challenge you guys to think about yourselves and how you think about how you label yourself, what you call yourself when someone says, "Who are you?" That's the first thing I would like to say. Mine feels more not so much a name, but a feeling or a sound. And you'll often hear me say, that's me. I realize. I am a president of 3 Hawk Wellness, if you want to give any kind of labels. And my dream is for myself, I am not an activist. I am more dreaming to have a continued active role of raising the voices, the energy, and the consciousness of humanity. Not just women, but children, men, elders, all people, all energy, even for the animals and plants, all things, because we are all of that thing. There's no separation. So I listen with that. I lost my train of thought. But that is who I am in a nutshell. I have come across this all men's group things in my own backyard, if you will. What I do as a medicine woman, that title has been given to me, and I often, again, don't use it. The men are usually the ones who lead these roles in our cultural background. It is almost not appropriate for the women to take the stand and drive medicine and be the holders of this sacred duty. And I fight against that. My medicine mother, who took that role when her husband passed, gave me the whistle and said, share all the knowledge with everyone. Now is the time to raise the vibration of the planet, of all things. So I hope and humbly ask you to question, who are you really when you introduce yourself? And don't get confined to labels.
That is so beautiful, and I'm actually just sitting and receiving that wisdom, and I'm going to go off script a little bit, and I want to share something personal because I think that a lot of people in this room could benefit from the question I have for you. And, you know, when I was 18, I was leading a team building company, hired my own team, trained them, and we would lead, you know, these big events in Toronto for all the big, you know, KPMG, Deloitte, all these companies. And I realized so quickly how fragmented and disconnected the organization was from its own values. It was a team building company that didn't believe in building its own team. Let's just say that. And I went home so frustrated, and anger, as women, you know, you're also taught to like suppress that, like you shouldn't feel that. And that anger turned into a channeling of 70 pages of the energy of the organization and how it's connected to the multidimensional layers of the earth, the planet, the people, the team the energy co-created on a team, and all of these like connection pieces that are the bones and the policies and procedures and the organs. And it was so just such a dump that I didn't even have the language at the time, but I was writing it. And it took me 15 years to figure out what I even wrote and gain the confidence to be able to share it and follow that through line. And I'm curious, I think a part of the reason why it took so long to honor it was because we're taught you have to study all these things and learn more and repress your inner wisdom, like look at the expert in the room. And the greatest insights I've ever had have not been from anyone else. They've been from myself and from that inner intuition and discernment. But we're taught to ignore that and suppress it and look for external validation. So I would love to hear, how can we, as a people, as humanity, really honor our inner wisdom more and listen to that discernment in the midst of all of the noise around us? And how can we encourage that in others when we think about our teams or who we're leading? How do we invite other people into that relationship with self as well?
I want to say you dreamt that for yourself at such a young age, and you see it coming to truth now. So that's a beautiful thing that is manifesting what you are, who you are, creating yourself constantly. We all do that secretly inside of ourselves or not knowing, and some of us aware of it. So it's beautiful. I do believe that we can raise our consciousness along with others and our voices by asking more questions and not thinking about what you have to say. A lot of times, many people choose to think, and you're not even hearing the voice of this other person, let alone feeling them. So I ask everybody, when you listen to these amazing people, that you not just listen, you feel the message, feel the energy that comes from their voices, their message. If you close your eyes and listen to them, rather than be distracted by the overwhelm of the world, you're going to understand the feeling rather than what you heard, because half of that's going to leave you. But the vibration will go through you, into you, and to the earth. So feel rather than listen, and that is a part of your intuition. That is coming from the gut and the heart rather than the mind, which is so overly conditioned, if you will.
Thank you.